webinar is being recorded. And I just hit the record button, so I'm going to re-go over that section real quick at the beginning so that everybody's introduced to what today's webinar is. We've also got a question window down here in the GoToWebinar section. That question window is being monitored both by the team at PacificCAD and Imagineit, as well as by myself. We will do a live Q&A at the end, so I will not answer any product questions along the way, but at the end we'll do a live Q&A and get all of your product questions answered. So whenever you think of something, please feel free to type that into the question window. As I mentioned, this is our What's New in Revu 2017 webinar, and today we're going to show you all of the great new features in Revu 2017, thanks to PacificCAD and Imagineit Technologies. As I mentioned earlier, PacificCAD has been a Bluebeam Gold partner for many years now, and they've recently partnered with Imagineit so that they can be better together and help you guys do what you do better, the same way that Bluebeam does here. We really focus on helping you do what you do better. For today's presentation, before we get started, I want to give you a little bit of background on Bluebeam. Meredith, I'm an application specialist here at Bluebeam, and my goal is to really help you guys do what you do better. And as a company, our goal is to be your global project partner. Bluebeam develops innovative technology solutions that really set the standard for collaboration and workflow efficiency for AEC professionals worldwide. And our flagship product is Revu. It's the one you're going to see today. It's that end-to-end workflow solution that's trusted by over 1 million AEC professionals worldwide. And it's not just a digital workflow solution, but also a collaboration solution. Built into every seat of Revu is Bluebeam Studio, a trusted collaboration platform that connects project partners worldwide in real time on the same set of centralized documents. It's that single source of truth that you need to make sure that everybody is working with the most current information. What we see today in Revu 2017 is going to be tools that span the life cycle of our projects and really allow us to do what we do better from the point at which that design needs to be reviewed and it's in its conception phase, straight through all of the pre-construction and construction work and right out to the project handover. Once those documents go to the owner and afterward, through the life of the project until that building meets its next life, essentially. So there's tools for facilities management and on the owner side, and there's tools for all of the different parts of the construction, pre-construction, and design process in terms of being able to help people have a common data environment and communicate better with each other. So all of the tools you see here today will support this. The ones that we focus on may focus on very specific workflows within this, but again, combined with the rest of the tools in Revu, it's really an end-to-end workflow solution. So now on to the stuff that you're really here for, the workflow focus and enhancements in Revu 2017. And again, we're going to make this quick, get right into Revu and show you what you want to see. So as we came together for Revu 2017, we looked at all of the different requests that come in from our customers, so suggestions@bluebeam.com, and we said, how can we maximize workflow efficiency and give our customers tools that can be used throughout the project lifecycle based on the requests that they're making. And what we came up with were tools on the quantity takeoff workflow and automation and visualization tools, so two big, broad categories. And these are all tools that have been requested by our customers at one point or another. Quantity takeoffs is going to be the focus of what we do today because if you can deliver a better bid, you're going to win more jobs. And when I was an audiovisual consultant, my job was actually putting together a lot of those bids for our team. And trust me when I say, you got to have a good quality bid. So the tools that we're going to look at today on the quantity takeoff side are going to be things that help us make our bids faster and more accurately. We're going to start with a brand new feature called Dynamic Fill that makes it really quick and easy for us to take measurements on our page. And then we're going to actually go through our measurement tool enhancements and count tool enhancements before we come in to quantity link, which is the feature that's going to make it easy for us to get our information out of Revu and into our bid sheet in Excel, if you're an Excel user like me for bid sheets. So let's get started with quantity takeoffs right into Revu. And here in Revu, I'm going to open up our material takeoff document. And before I get into the new features, I want to focus on something that if you are doing takeoffs in Revu, you may already be using or you may not have thought much about, but that will really pay off with a lot of the new features in Revu 2017 that you're going to see today. And those features are profiles. Now, I have already double-clicked this profile that my team attached to this document. And if I go into that profile, I'm going to change it. It's also available up here in View and Profiles. What you're going to notice is that the tools that are available to me have changed. So I have a variety of different tools at my disposal on the sides. And if I come into the markups list, which is typically hosted here on the bottom, and my tool chest, which is typically hosted on the left-hand side, here's just another way of accessing those, this tab access here. You'll notice that there's a variety of things that have been pre-set up for this project. I'm going to start with the markups list. The markups list will be sort of the last thing we look at, but this is where all of our data gets compiled and ultimately then can be shipped out into other programs or worked with right here in Revu. Some of the things that my colleagues have done is they've turned on the columns that I'm going to need, measurement and unit. And there's a variety of other columns they could have turned on, like area, wall area, length. So we could have all of this turned on for ourselves here. The other thing that they did is they came in and they created some custom columns for us, material and material cost. When I look at those custom columns here, that material column has a bunch of different choices for materials. It's got some pricing associated with it, but we could have built that without the pricing if we wanted to be able to send this document right off to the owner along with the bid set so that he could see the quantities. The other thing that we've got here is our material cost. This is a formula column. Formulas are really easy to set up in Revu. So if you're not doing anything that needs an Excel worksheet, you can quickly and easily set up that column here. All you do is you start typing and it throws in all of the variables that are available to you. And you'll see a little bit about how that material cost column works as we go through. So just a few things that they've set up in advance to help with the takeoffs that we're performing. The other thing that they've set up is a tool set for us. And this tool set has some custom count symbols. It's got some perimeter measurements for base, and it's also got some area measurements for different types of flooring. If I click on one of those measurements, for example, this carpet 01, and I come into our properties panel on the right-hand side, you can see they've given it a custom subject and label. They've customized some coloring here. They could have applied a hatch pattern. There's a variety that are available. So just leave that as no hatch pattern there. They've changed, they could change the opacity. They've actually chosen highlight, which looks really cool. And then they could apply a couple of other different properties to this and the visual look of that tool. Most importantly though, that material column that they set up in the markups list, they've applied the material already for it. So that'll automatically show up every time I use that tool in the markups list, along with that subject and the label, which we saw columns for in the markups list. Now, if you're going through and actually setting this up for your team, the last thing that you would do at this point is you would come into profiles, just click the guy, click on your profile, and export it out for everybody to use. And that way you could put it on a network drive, you could email it, or you could attach it to the bid set. All they would have to do is double click it, and they've got all those tools at their disposal. And we're going to show several ways that the new tools in Revu 2017 make use of both those customizations in the markups list and in the tool chest. So really important to get everything set up correctly. So once you've got that profile set up, that's a one-time thing, right? It's all set up, it's good to go. You can start performing your takeoffs on any document. And with the measurement tools, the first thing that we do every time that I perform a takeoff, and I highly recommend you do it too, is we calibrate our page. Now, if you opened the measurements panel on the side, what you'll see is there is the ability to type in your calibration, but you can also calibrate to a known length on the page, which is what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to pick my 2 points. And by the way, that shift key gave me the straight line there. Cool tip and trick. So here we have 23 feet, 10.5 inches. Here, new for Review 2017 is the ability to apply this scale to all pages. I've got 3 pages in this document, so if I click that, it would apply the scale to all 3. I know that those pages are each individually scaled differently, so I'm just going to click OK, and now we're calibrated. And the way that I know that we're calibrated is I take my length tool and I measure any other measurement on the page. I can also take this 5-foot measurement, and they all show up accurately. Once you're calibrated, it's time to start measuring. And with your measurements, the biggest tool and the biggest time saver is going to be dynamic fill, because dynamic fill doesn't just measure your document, it allows you to also define the area in which your measurements are being taken using the Spaces tool in Revu. So for those of you guys who haven't used Spaces, what it does is it defines rooms and allows you to then track all of the markups or measurements in that room by that room. So if I come in here and I create a space, I'm just going to name this room 120C, and then we'll use that to define it. Okay. I'm also going to then start by actually adding my boundaries and using dynamic fill. So let's dynamic fill the 4 rooms here: men's room, women's room, storage, and conference. The first thing to do is to come through and to block off all of these entrances. So there's 2, 3, 4, and then I've got this section where the measurement goes over the line, so I'm going to block that off too, just to be safe. Next, I'm going to come through and I'm going to take my paint can, and this is how easy it is now to perform measurements with dynamic fill. It's just a little painting. As one of my colleagues likes to say, it's like using a coloring book, and if you don't go over the lines, I was never very good at coloring, so I apologize, guys. But as long as you don't go over the lines, you are good to go there. And again, if I wanted to get really accurate, I could zoom in here and get as accurate and close as I wanted to. Some rooms are easier to fill than others, as I will show you in a second, and I went over that line again too. And good thing there is Control Z, but there we go. Nice and painted. I'm really not a painter. That's why I went into AV. So we've got this all filled in. Now all we have to do to apply our space and apply any of these other things is to hit the apply button. So we can add a polygon measurement, we can add an area measurement, and we can add an area measurement using our tools in our advanced material takeoffs or any recent tools we've used. Since this is a bathroom and some storage and conference rooms, I'm going to use some concrete here. Let's do concrete 02. That looks good. I'm also going to apply a perimeter measurement. We could do a poly length. That's a new tool I'll introduce you to in a second. But I can apply a perimeter measurement, so we can put a tile base in these rooms. And then I could also apply a volume measurement if I wanted to. So I've got 2 measurements, I've got my space, I'm going to hit apply, and Revu is going to take care of doing all of those measurements. So it's come through and measured all those rooms. If I come into that markups list, here are our 4 baseboard measurements. Here are our 4 flooring measurements, all taken there. And if I come in with tab access to our spaces, I now have 4 spaces. That's room 120C. This one is 120D, so we'll give it a quick rename. Okay. This one is 122. Great. And this one is 123. So very easy for us to rename those. And now I'm just going to turn that spaces column on to show you how it works. So here's our different rooms. I can now sort by the space. And look at this with my material cost, right, already set up. Doing that math, I now have a subtotal for each room. How much does each room cost in terms of baseboard and flooring? And we could do this again and again all over the place to quickly take all of our measurements right here with dynamic fill. Now, dynamic fill is one of many measurement tool enhancements. And the next big measurement tool enhancement is one that I alluded to with dynamic fill, and that is the polylength tool. And one of the things that ends up happening is that often when you're doing sub-trades, so for example for me, being an audiovisual, having to run cables between speakers, you know, any electrician who's running between junction boxes and lights, plumbers, of course, you know, going between fixtures here, like the sinks here, you want to get the length, the total length of piping needed, but you also want to know the distance between each joint that you have in your pipes, for example, or you know, between each of the sinks here. So I'm just going to hold my shift key again to get a nice straight measurement and just measure across the center points of all of these sinks. And what you'll notice now is that I have this measurement, and the measurement has our total length of piping that's needed here. It's also got the length between each of the center points here on these measurements. So it's got each length of pipe that we need to go between the two sinks. Now there's a couple things that we can do with this polylength measurement from here. I mean, as is, it shows up pretty cleanly down here in our markups list. I'm going to change our subject again, so easy to see that polylength. So here's that total length there. One of the first things that we can do right off the bat, and this is another new feature in Revu 2017, is that we can add a rise and a drop here. So let's say that we know for each of these joints, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, we need an additional 6 inches of piping to actually get from where it's being run along the back into the sink. So we can throw rise drop 6 inches a piece times 6 of that would be 3 feet. So we can add an extra 3 feet to the amount of pipe we need. Let's say we also know that this needs to go up 10 feet to the next floor from this sink junction. We could add another 10 feet there. That would be 13 feet. And watch that length automatically updates. So very easy for us to add in the additional measurements we need and have a real total of the amount of pipe we need. Another thing that we can do here with this is we can actually split it into individual measurements. So once we're actually done with the pre-construction work, we've got our bid out, we've been accepted for the job, this is actually going out for construction, and we want an easy way to track that each of these lengths of pipe has been installed. Let's right-click, let's split them all. And now we've got each of those split out individually so that we can go through and actually track them using statuses here in the markups list. It's another column that we can turn on here, a status column to track if they've been installed or where they are, for example, in progress of being shipped. So a great way to get this from pre-construction document to an actual construction document and a usable measurement there. So quite a bit of things here. And oh, one more thing, if you do split this up and you decide you want to resume from a point, you can right click on that particular section and actually resume it. Looks like I'm going to need a second. I have done this before, but I can't remember where I found that, but it is an option there with the polylength. So let's move on now from polylength to another new option that you actually can see here in this measurement section. Below the rise drop here, there is an area called slope. And that slope area allows you to perform measurements that involve either grades, degrees, or actual slopes. So I'm going to turn off everything except for my area measurement here. We'll use concrete 01 for this one. Again, just using dynamic fill, it makes life so easy to quickly fill and apply a measurement. Here's our concrete 01. We have 849 square feet of concrete. However, this is a ramp, and ramp 4 actually has a grade of 8%. It's a little steep, a little past those ADA guidelines, but here we go. Ramp 4 with our slope of 8% is now 852 square feet. And if I take that grade off, we go back to having 849 square feet. So put that back on. This comes into play really and gets really cool once we start looking at roofing. So let me open up a roof plan that I've got here, and we'll show a couple of features from this roof plan. First thing I'm going to do is turn back on dynamic fill. I'm going to choose just our default area measurement properties because I don't really have a good roofing option here. I'm going to fill in our roof, and again, very easy for us to fill in everything we need here with the roof. Apply that measurement, and what you'll see here as I zoom in, shift and click. So let's shift. There we go. Get that moved over so that it's easy to see how much concrete we have. So this is 25,943 square feet of concrete. The slope here, though, is 3/12, if you can see over here. So let's add in the slope. I'm going to select it. We're going to pick our pitch, which is 3/12. And now we're going to see that automatically update, 26,742 square feet. So nice way, you don't have to do any fancy math in the markups list with the formulas, no trigonometry anymore. Revu will automatically calculate that all for you. And those of you who've been doing trig in Revu for this, I know you've been asking for this feature, so here it is for you guys. Now the next feature that's really great is the new changes to the cutout tools. So historically the cutout tools in Revu have just been a polygon tool. It was a single button that you clicked and there weren't a lot of options for it. With Revu 2017 we've got quite a few options. The first is an ellipse cutout. So if, for example, over here in this corner we had a round skylight, we could put that round skylight in with the ellipse. Looking at the polygon cutout here, and this works with the ellipse cutout too, but I got a really nice example of a section where we actually need to copy and paste multiples of this cutout. Well, if I click Control, click the cutout, and drag it, I can now make a copy of it just by clicking and dragging. So very quick and easy to get all of our cutouts for all of the skylights put together here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now that I've got all 5 of these, and there's 6 cutouts total that are affecting, again, that size, you've probably noticed that the area has been going down slowly but surely. One of the things that you guys have actually asked for with these cutouts is the ability to fill those cutouts in with another material. So maybe you had a window. Sorry, I got a little frog in my throat. Okay, let's try this again. So maybe you have a window material that you want to fill in the area of all of these skylights with. Well, now all you would click, you could either click area or you could come again into your tool chest and just click whichever tool you had pre-made for the area and just click and fill. Here we go. These are all 81 square feet. That one's 55 square feet. Very easy to put those measurements on the page. Now, in addition to being able to fill these cutouts, you can also come over to a cutout or to an edge, and you can now actually change the size of any measurement tool by making a cutout that goes over the edge. So if I start my polygon cutout on the interior, I can actually cut over the edge here and change the shape of that measurement by taking a cutout just of that section on the edge. I'm going to undo that one. The final thing that you can do with cutouts, which I know a lot of you guys have asked for, and you can see I've got our cutout selected here. You can right click and you can delete that cutout altogether from the area measurement. Whoops, and I selected the wrong one. So let's go through. Probably should have done that before I added this area measurement onto the cutout. So taking the area measurement out, I still have a cutout here. And delete cutout, and there we go. The cutout's been deleted. So right click, and once again I have that area measurement selected, so we'll take the area measurement off and then delete that cutout. So we can remove cutouts from this area. A couple of more random updates to the area measurement tools and in general all of the measurement tools. One of the things you may have noticed while we were in the properties panel is the ability to show captions for our measurements. So here I can edit which of the captions to show instead of just being able to turn all captions on or all captions off. I can turn on the captions that I want. So for example, height and width, which would be helpful, again, with a window or a skylight, knowing the width of it and the height of it. That width and height this year are also width and height that are scaled. So previously the width and height in Revu was the document width and document height, which is really not helpful, but now they're actually scaled with the drawing, which is super great. Like usual, you can show the centroid, but one of my favorite things this year is the ability to show segment values. And it's going to look really cluttered because we have our caption showing. So I'm going to turn off the caption. And what you can see now is here are each of the segment values, which is really great for any perimeter measurements that you're doing. Again, we can come back to our baseboard measurement here. Coming back down, I'm going to pick that baseboard measurement. Here's one of them. So here's our base. And now we can show those segment values so we can know how long each of those segments is. So we're a little cluttered due to something I've done up there, but we can align them all horizontally so that they're easier to see. And we've got all of our measurements there. So very easy to show exactly what you want to show with all of these measurements. Going to turn that off again and move on to talk about enhancements that are no longer to the measurement tools but are actually to the count tools here in Revu. And for those of you who've been using the count tools, you've been using it one of two ways. You've been counting individually using your count tools in the tool chest, or you've been performing a search, so taking your visual search of the item that you're looking to count and searching for it in the document and then applying a very generic red check mark to it. By the way, Revu's looking throughout the document. It's searching all of the rotations. For those of you who don't know, the search tool here in visual search, it's going to catch all rotations of this sink. So here we go. We've got a variety of rotations, even with text over it. Has no problem identifying that that's the exact same sink. So historically, as I mentioned, if you were using the search tool, you checked all, and then you just applied a count measurement to checked. You didn't have any options. It just applied as a red check mark. But now with Revu 2017, you can actually choose, again, those tools that you've pre-created in your tool chest that have your subjects and your labels, materials, costs, all of that already built in. So for example, if I wanted to do these sinks here, I can click my plumbing, and there are those sinks now. All of them across the page that are around sinks, and they are using that really nice custom tool set information. So if we come down here, we come down to plumbing, sink 01, we've got an 11 count of it. Now, just like with polylength, this year we can split all of our sinks apart. So right click and we can split all. And then we could pick an individual sink and we could resume the count from that specific sink. The other thing that we can do, and this one's really cool, so let's say that we split these all apart, wanted to count them individually here in the markups list, and here it is, those 11 split apart. Let's say we now want to group them back together separately by the men's and the women's room. So we want those as two separate counts. I can come in here, I can select just these 5. Here we go, select just these 5, right click, and I can merge those counts together. So now I have a count of 5 here. Okay. And same thing, I could do the count and I could merge it the same way up here if I selected all of this. So lots of great options with those count tools. The coolest option though for this year is the ability to create custom count symbols. So what you saw here in the tool chest, I have some custom count symbols that we've created. We used our markup tools. We made a markup of a circle, we dragged it in here, we right clicked, and we created a count, which doesn't show up if it's already turned into a count. But I'm going to show you how you can do this with any symbol on your page. So coming into Edit and Snapshot, if you guys haven't used this before, it's really cool. You take a copy of any symbol on the page and paste it. So here is that snapshot of that symbol. I'm going to right click and change the color so that we know that it's not an exact replica. So we're going to take that black and let's make it into red, which is nice and noticeable. And now what you're going to notice is that here in my recent tools, I should have the red version. We'll copy and paste that red version real quick. And now here's the red version in my recent tools, ready for me to drag into my tool chest. So here it is in our tool chest. I'm going to click Create Count. And now that I've created the count with it, you'll notice it's got some numbers. And as I go through here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 toilets, all with a nice toilet count on them. And I come through into the markups list. What I've got is a count measurement of 6 toilets. Everything that we've done with the count tools applies. This even is available now for us here with Apply Count Measurements checked. So you'll notice there's that toilet right there. So very nice updates to the count measurement tools. So we've talked about how we perform our takeoffs on the page, but ultimately when it comes to creating a better bid, this information has to go from being a takeoff on the page to being a measurement that we can apply cost to for our estimate and ultimately build into our bids. I don't know about you, but I like to use Excel when building bids, and a majority of our customers are using Excel to build those bids. And historically what they've done when they're ready to build their bid is they've come into their markups list where all this information is stored, all of their measurement information, materials, etc. And what they've done is they've come under Summary and they've clicked this button, CSV Summary, and they've created a summary that they then copy and paste into their bid sheet, which is a somewhat time-intensive process. I am about to introduce you to, I think, the biggest time saver this year in terms of putting together bids, and that is Quantity Link. So here is my sample bid, and here is my sample bid showing, and let me make this a little smaller, all of our information. So let's look by label, and let's look at our labels. So here we have Concrete 01, it's 852 square feet. Right here, this is 852 square feet. Down below at Concrete 02, we have 299 square feet of it on our sample bid. We have 299 square feet total of it here on our sheet. If I come in, I'm going to come through and put another one of that Concrete 02 on the page. Just going to take a random shape so you can see. We've got an extra 148 square feet. So this is 427 square feet. And right here, 427 square feet. So it's automatically updating for us based on the way that we've set it up. And setting it up is a breeze. So what you'll notice is I don't have my tile set up. I'm going to place my tile measurement on the page. So let's go in on the janitors and families rooms here. These are good rooms for tile. I'm just going to take some basic measurements of the rooms. Okay, so here are our measurements of the janitors and family rooms. And as I come in here to the markups list, we'll scroll down through this and you'll see here our tile. When I right click in the quantity link, or the quantity, cell in Excel, what you'll notice if you have Review Extreme, this is a Review Extreme only feature, is this quantity link that shows up in Excel. Then you can come through, you can choose your source files, and we'll look at source files in a moment, but you can see that file matches this file. And then what you do is you hit Create. So I'm going to take the total area of my measurement. I'm going to use that label of tile 01, though I could use our material too, to put together our filter. And here we go. It has now come up with 111 square feet, which is the exact same here. So those both match. Very easy to do. Now here is where Quantity Link gets really cool. Okay, I'm going to close. Actually, I'm going to open that again. I'm going to open a new document. This is a material takeoff plan. It's using the exact same tool set. it uses all of the exact same tools. So we've got all of our measurements pre-populated on the page here. You'll notice here's our carpet 01. As we scroll through, concrete 01, concrete 02, right? Everything's been taken off on this document. I am now going to change our source file. So quantity link, source file. We're going to remove the blank material takeoff, and we're going to add in this material takeoff document. And watch as it automatically updates. Here's carpet 01, 4,164 square feet, 4,164 square feet. A perfect match. As I come through, here's our concrete, 48,848, 48,848. And as I go through, all of the measurements in this sample bid match all of the measurements here in the markups list. It's an incredibly easy tool to use. You create your sample bid once, you save it, and then every time that you do a new takeoff and you need to create a new bid, you just switch the source file, save as, bid A1.1.1. When you were coming in for A1.3.1, again, you could just come through. As long as you were using the exact same tool sets, it would automatically update. So for example, I haven't changed the source file, but if I change the source file, use the exact same tool set, it would automatically put in all of those values, and then I'd save that as a 1.3.1 bid. Makes it very easy to create bids. You can have your information already set up. You can use an existing bid template that you've already got put together, and all you have to do is link the quantities. So incredibly easy to use and a huge time saver. And again, that feature is only available in Revu Extreme. So we've covered all of the quantity takeoff tools that will help you deliver a better bid, but there's a lot more to Revu 2017 than just the quantity takeoff tools, because at the end of the day, Revu 2017 is an end-to-end workflow solution. And there's a variety of automation and visualization tools that we've added to Revu 2017 to help you do what you do better throughout any part of the project. Right off the top, two big ones this year are automatic form creation and batch sign and seal. Two Revu Extreme only features that are going to save you a lot of time. Automatic form creation is just as it sounds, and so is batch sign and seal. And they make both of those processes an absolute breeze in Revu. Then we're going to take a look at 360 photos and 3D PDF enhancements. Now 360-degree photos is support for embedding and viewing 360-degree photos in Revu, allowing you to more easily communicate site information back to the office. And 3D PDF enhancements makes it even easier to communicate design intent to people out in the field actually constructing the buildings. So really cool options for us here. So let's take a look at those here in Revu, starting with automatic form creation. So I'm going to close all of our open documents here. We won't need them right now. And I'm going to change back to my construction profile because that's the one where I know where all of the tools are. My preferred profile for the day. And I'm going to open up an RFI template. This is a very lovely RFI template. Has a bunch of fields, but what it doesn't have is actual form fields to make it easy to fill out. Historically, you would have come in Revu Extreme into the forms editor, or up top, you would have gone through and picked all of your different form fields and added them in. Now all you do is hit auto create, and before I can describe to you what Revu has done, it has auto created all of those fields. It's really that simple now. So all you do, put that in, it automatically pulls over the text if the text is searchable. If the text is not searchable, you can perform optical character recognition, OCR, with Revu Extreme first, and then of course hit that auto create button and come in and create the form fields. And one of the great things about the form fields that it's creating is they're all intelligent. So it caught that this is a signature field, for example, or the date field that you see to the right of it. If I come into the properties here and I come into the format, you'll notice that it's formatted it as a date field. So it makes it very quick and easy to get very accurate and nice form fields here. And of course, if we wanted to change any of these to a drop-down or something like that, we could easily change it. And one of the best things that unfortunately this sample document does not show off is the ability to automatically create checkboxes and radio buttons when they're seen. So if it sees, like, for example, a little box here, it'll turn that into a checkbox. And if it saw a little circle here, it would turn that into a radio button. So really cool options there. Auto create, huge time saver. The next one that's going to save you guys a lot of time, especially if your job is to review and sign documents, is our batch sign and seal. So I'm going to open up our document here. I've got a nice clean PDF file here, and this is one of, as you saw in that folder, one of about 6 different documents here. But this could easily be one of 10, 100, 200, 1,000 documents, right? That you have reviewed, you have seen them up and down, you have done everything. Now all that's left to do is for you to approve these. This is your construction set. They are ready to go. You just need to let everybody know that you've signed off on them for construction. Historically, that process has involved you going into document, clicking signatures, going to sign document, adding the signature field, signing the signature field, and then coming into markup, finding your stamp, and applying your seal. That is quite a few steps for every individual document. With batch, sign, and seal, it's just a couple of steps. So batch, sign, and seal, I'm going to add my folder of files here. Here's our signature files. I could save that so that it automatically reloads the same folder every time. So I could just have my documents for signature there. I'm going to add my digital signature. I'm going to hope that I remember my password. Good job today. Woohoo! And I'm going to add a reason. So anything that you can do with the digital signature tools in Revu is available here. You can put your reasons here. You can add any digital IDs. So if you had, for example, a third-party digital signature ID already set up on your computer, it would show up in your drop-downs here. Same for any Windows certificates. You can even create new digital signatures right on the fly. If you have any different appearances, maybe you've got a wet signature that you include in your digital signature, just a copy of some text, you could add that in here. And then you can move this around wherever you need it to go. So let's put it down here. Let's resize it just a little, make it a little smaller. And there we go, a nice digital signature right in that stamp section. Now I also want to put my seal on here, so I can import a stamp or I can just pick my seal stamp. Again, that comes onto the page. We'll put it right here, resize it, let's go a little smaller, and center it right over that signature. So signed and sealed. Now this works great for all of our 42 by 30 inch documents. I can come through and preview them. Shows up in the right place. There we go, 42 by 30 inch. Very easy to see where that shows up in the title block. But I've actually got some 8.5 by 11s and other size sheets. I can come through and individually place where the signature and the seal show up on all of those. So very easy to do that. Once I've gotten everything to my liking, I click done. And Revu goes through and applies my signature and my seal. So again, pretty quick. This is just 7 pages in a couple of seconds. Much faster than if you'd opened them individually and signed and sealed them. And you know what's in these documents, so you're good to go. Now I talked about 360-degree photos and 3D PDFs are visualization improvements. For 360-degree photos, I'm going to open a document here that we've embedded a 360 photo into. And what we've done is out in the field, my colleague took this photo of the construction, and then he added a markup to the page, Project Update 2-7, and added in that image. When I click on the little image icon there, that's the capture icon for those of you who have not used capture. What you'll see is we've got a 360-degree photo up here, and we can pan through that photo. You can see our photographer right there. We can look up. We can zoom in on any of the details here. So let's continue moving up. Zoom right in on that box up there. That's some pretty good quality for a 360 photo. There are a variety of cameras that are supported, including the Ricoh Theta S, Samsung Gear 360, and a number of others where once you take the photo and import it onto your desktop, you can embed it into the PDF. All of these images show up as 360 images on Windows Photos, on Revu Windows, so Windows tablets, Windows desktops, etc. And then if you've got an iPad or Revu Mac, they'll show up sort of flat. You won't be able to navigate through them, but they'll still show up in the capture media. So really great option here for communicating what's happening on the site to people back in the office. The final enhancement to talk about today is 3D PDFs. And here I've got our terminal building 3D PDF. As the model loads on my old computer, which is just a little slow for some of these processes, I want to talk to you about where the 3D model tree shows up nowadays. Historically, the 3D model tree has shown up in the left or the right-hand panels, depending on your profile. Now the 3D model tree shows up here in the bottom, sort of like the markups list. And it works a lot like the markups list. You can sort by any of these columns to look at the information. We can turn columns on and off. So in addition to the columns you see here, which are automatically picked based on the fact that they have the most metadata of in terms of the parts in this model, we can also manage columns and turn on any metadata that's associated with any part in this model. So all of this metadata has come over with the model, and we can turn it all on or off here in the 3D model tree and look at it that way. Like the markups list, we can also come through and filter. So I can filter by any of these column headers, just pick a topic and filter. Better yet, though, I can search. And before I do that search, I want to quickly come down and just get a little closer in on this model. We'll get a little more full page so that you can see what's really happening here as I do that search. So here I'm going to search for the windows. What you'll notice is that it's made everything else transparent, and it is just focused on the windows. So it's very easy to see all of the windows there in the model, and as soon as I clear the search, we're back to the normal model. Another update with the way that we navigate our 3D PDFs and view the information here, not just being able to search and see just that information, but if we select anything here in the model tree, it will jump right to that information on the page. So it centers it in the page, makes it very easy for us to see it. And one of the great things that we can do with this information once we've gotten to it is that we can actually edit any of the metadata that's here. So for example, our part render modes, our phase created, maybe this is actually a renovation, it's not new construction. We can update that, right? We can edit any of the information that you see down here. And one of the cool ones is that we can edit the color. So if we wanted to see the status of this casework, maybe we're tracking the status through colors. And every time that something is installed properly, we turn it to, let's go with a lovely shade of blue. Working here at Bluebeam, I'm very partial to the color. So now what you're going to notice as I hit the escape button is that we now have blue sinks. Those sinks were previously gray. So really cool ability to change up model information and work with the model information here. The final really big enhancement, and by the way, all of the tools that you're used to in terms of working with 3D PDFs still exist, whether you're thinking about the toolbar that helps you to navigate through them, the ability to do cross sections, to move parts around, to save views. You can find it up here or down here now in the model tree. But the coolest new thing that we can do this year is we can take all of this metadata and we can export it to a CSV file. Historically, this model data has always been attached to the model part, whether that's in Revit, in our 3D PDF, wherever we're getting that 3D information from. And that you guys have asked, how do I get this information out of Revu? Because we want to do more with it. Some of the information that we saw in terms of the columns we could turn on, there were areas, there were widths, there were heights, which are really cool. There are a variety of hyperlinks to specs and things of that sort. Those are all things that we'd like to have a list of. So now you can export to CSV. All of this information, all of the columns that you have turned on, get taken out into CSV and can then be worked with just like any other Excel file. So really great enhancements on the 3D side. With that, we have covered a lot in Review 2017. I'm about to open it up for our live Q&A, but before I do, just a couple notes. First, save the date, guys. If you want to learn more about Review, of course, you can always reach out to PacificCAD and Imagine It for more information on the software to get that all put together. But you can also come down to the Bluebeam Extreme Conference this summer, August 14th through 16th. This is our user conference. We have actual customers who come down and share how they're using Review to do what they do better with a variety of case studies and workflow presentations. We do trainings on the product. We have several keynote speakers, and then we talk about industry trends that will affect the construction industry today and for years to come. So it's really a great opportunity to learn more. Highly recommend coming down. Registration opens April 4th, and you can visit bluebeamextreme.com for more details. And then I want to thank you so much for coming out. For those of you who need to run before the live Q&A, this would be the point at which you can feel free to take off. You've seen everything in Review 2017. Just be sure to reach out to PacificCAD and Imagine It for your upgrade to Review 2017, or if you want to download a free 30-day trial to try it out, because either you've never tried Review or you just want to try Review 2017 before you upgrade to it. As a note, that trial of Review 2017 can be installed side by side with your existing version 16 or 15 or whatever version you're currently on. So you've got a great opportunity to try it before you actually hit the upgrade button and get that upgrade from PacificCAD and Imagine It. And the contact information for PacificCAD and Imagine It to help you out with all of this is here. You can call them at the number you see here or shoot them an email at info@rand.com. I also want to, again, thank PacificCAD and Imagine It for hosting today's webinar and presenting it for us so that you could see all of the new features in Review 2017. Hopefully you've enjoyed the presentation, learned a lot of new things, and have some places to start into Review 2017 with the new features. With that, let's open up the control panel, come into our question window, and see what questions you guys have been asking today and do our live Q&A. So here we go. A great question. Are there pre-made profiles like the advanced materials profile that we can use in order to do essentially as a starter point for our takeoffs? And the answer to that is yes. There are both starter profiles and tool sets available on our help page. So if you come in Review to help and you click resources, what it'll take you to, oh, and that was not the one I wanted. Resources has all of our training videos. So by the way, if you'd like training, some free training videos, you've got those available here under resources. But actually what you're looking for is under help. Let's go with help. No. And I've totally forgotten where that page is. I completely blanked. But if you come and click on support, I can find it from our webpage. So if you click on support on bluebeam.com or go to support.bluebeam.com and you come down here under review extensions, what you'll see is there are a variety of toolsets, stamps, profiles, and dictionaries that you can download. So you can start there and build things from there. Ooh, we've got another great question here, and this is related to those spaces that we created with Dynamic Fill. The question is there an option that automatically recognizes Revit Rooms family from an exported PDF and interprets them as review spaces? And the answer to that is yes. So when you're exporting a PDF from Revit, either using Review 2016 or Review 2017, there is an option to export your rooms as spaces. And when you click that option to export rooms as spaces, it'll automatically create spaces based on the Revit rooms that you have set up. Highly recommend that if you guys are architects, please click that before you export your PDFs. The construction team down the line will love you for it, especially with the bid set as they're putting together their bids, because they won't have to create any of those spaces. It'll automatically be set up for them. The huge time saver, as mentioned by the person who asked this question, he said this would be a huge time saver, and it definitely is. So rooms to spaces, great feature with that plugin. Another great question here, is optical character recognition OCR available in Revu? The answer to that is yes. So here under document in Revu Extreme, it's not in standard and CAD, it's just in Extreme, there is a button called OCR. I'm going to open, I'm not going to open a document to perform OCR on, but I'll open one, just a CAD document here, because I don't know how it's going to react if I attempt to hit OCR while I've got a 3D PDF up. But here when I hit OCR in Revu, one of the cool things with OCR in Revu is that we're actually optimized for CAD drawings and tables and forms. So we're the only PDF product on the markup that has optimizations for CAD drawings and for tables and forms in addition to text documents. So using OCR here in Revu, make sure that you get an accurate text there. Great questions so far. I don't see any other questions here, but I will hang out and make sure that we do get any questions that you have answered. So please feel free to type those into the question or the chat window if you still have them. And if you don't have any questions, you are welcome to leave. Thank you again so much for coming out. And I'm going to just put up again the contact information. You are also welcome to reach out to Pacific CAD and Imaginate if any questions do come up after today's presentation. They are more than happy to help you out. Cool. I don't see any other questions. So at this point, I do want to thank you all so much for coming, and we will definitely be in touch. I'm sure I'll see you guys on another webinar with Pacific CAD and Imaginate someday. Feel free to reach out to them if anything else comes up, and thank you all so much for coming.